Hello, brothers and sisters. We're here in Washington, D.C., in front of the U.S. Capitol, the symbol of our country's strength and democracy. But I think lately it more closely represents a lot of the division and dysfunction of our government, and unfortunately, of today's society. Our team is here to meet with IBEW leadership to make sure that our collective voices are being heard by our elected officials and the policymakers here in D.C., whose every decision affects each and every one of us, not only as Americans, but as IBEW 103 members back home in Boston. We know that the next few years will be filled with great challenges for unions, but with challenges come new opportunities, opportunities to change and grow. And as construction in Boston steadily slows, we need to stay informed, stay engaged, and most importantly, stay united. We have some serious concerns over cuts to federal spending and a new flurry of tariffs and how these changes will affect the construction industry in Greater Boston. The elimination of medical research funding through the National Institutes of Health should be of great concern to our members. This research funding has made Boston area hospitals, colleges, and research institutions the envy of the world. And it's where IBEW 103 members and contractors earn millions of work hours every year building and maintaining those complex buildings and campuses. And in 2024 alone, the NIH invested $3.4 billion into the Boston area. And extreme cuts to this funding will have severe impact on these institutions and how they spend their capital budgets. We're also getting a lesson on international tariffs and how deeply they affect our economy. As you know, tariffs often lead to increased prices for goods as businesses pass the added costs onto the consumers. This can increase the financial burden on our own household budgets as well as that of our contractors and local businesses. We all know that tariffs on imported materials like lumber and steel, aluminum and copper can significantly drive up construction costs. That means higher prices for the materials we use every day on the job site. Any increased cost on these goods might be just enough to push construction projects to where they're no longer feasible, and they can be the difference between a new project getting its financing or whether or not it gets built at all. Tariffs can dampen trade, reduce investment, and lead to inefficiencies in the economy. These factors often combine to slow overall economic growth at a time when we can least afford more slowdowns or expensive obstacles to construction projects. And while I respect the argument that tariffs are often implemented to protect domestic businesses, like the auto and steel industries, the fear of broader economic consequences will likely outweigh the intended benefits, making them a challenging policy tool for sustained long-term economic growth. We're seeing the immediate effects of these tariffs causing severe market volatility and wreaking havoc on our retirement accounts and our financial institutions. This kind of turbulence has the potential to set us back for years. But as we look at the long road ahead, we know that when we stand together, when we make our voices heard here in Washington or back home at Boston, and certainly at the bargaining table, we can shape the policies that affect us. We've done it before, and we'll do it again. So stay informed, brothers and sisters, stay active, and let's make sure that as policy coming out of Washington changes, we're adjusting, we're adapting, and we're changing too, not just watching from the sidelines. We're leading the charge for a future that works for all of us, because we're wired for change. I'm Lou Antonellis, the business manager of IBEW 103. Thanks for listening. Now let's get to work.